I do feel, yes, you can be surveilled and everything, right? But doesn't mean that you should be okay with everything being out there, right? Your phone number, your address, and your IC and things like that. One thing I did learn from here is please don't name your children John Tan, because Jo Teo straight away, that's an example where John Tan is a very poor. It's not a unique identifier of a person, right?
And I'm sure you know some John Tans.
Yeah. More than my fair share, yeah. So don't name your children John Tan, please.
To all John Tans out there, I mean, at least you got your name mentioned in Parliament.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome to the club. Quick update. Since we first told you about our Words of Wisdom project, an initiative to capture 60 Singaporean seniors' life stories as podcasts, we've already completed the first 20 recordings. These 20 seniors are from all walks of life: coaches, academics, civil servants, and many others. The good news is, you can still be a part of this once-in-a-generation project. If you know a Singaporean above 60 with an unforgettable life story, nominate them to be interviewed and have their words of wisdom captured forever. And if you, yes, you listening, are that Singaporean with that life story, please nominate yourself. Click on the link in the episode description to find out more or to listen to some of the completed recordings. Each recording takes only 30 minutes, but the lessons left behind will last for a lifetime. And now, on to the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala,
But
your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
Oh, why the curt butt, man? Almost threw me off, man.
No, is it?
I was like, oh, what?
No, I mean, this week there's a lot of serious discussions going on in Parliament.
Yeah.
People fighting with each other on the streets.
Yeah.
Very serious week, huh?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, in some way, it was very easy to choose topics to talk about this podcast.
There was no choice. It was thrust in our faces, like people on their phones and all.
Starting the year with a bang.
Yes, that's right.
But I mean, how's the week been, man?
Pretty good. I was very glad that our recent podcast with Fei Sai, the hawker, third generation hawker, has been creating a lot of buzz on YouTube and even I guess anyone who listens to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
A lot of comments on YouTube. So you guys who are on Spotify but never see our YouTube videos, go check out the YouTube comments. Very interesting.
Very polarizing also.
Polarizing, yes. But mostly in one direction, I would say. But I enjoyed that podcast a lot. How about you?
I enjoyed it a lot. And I think it just gave me a lot of perspective to think. Not necessarily agree with, but just to think.
Yeah.
And that's all we need.
Yeah. And I think that's something people don't realize is that just because we have the guests on our podcast, it doesn't necessarily mean we agree with everything they say. And a lot of times, even the description and all that might not capture the full weight or the full meaning or intention of what they're saying. And the fact that we push back also, it's our way of like just saying that, hey, we might not 100% agree with you, right?
Yeah.
But I thought her perspective was super illuminating.
Yeah, not something that I expected.
Yeah, but surprisingly, after that, a lot of people or friends or what told me that, they know about Coffee Break and they actually really like the coffee there and all that. How about you? Have you heard that?
I seen comments, some people saying, Coffee Break is great. And the same polarizing comments. And I mean, going back to the thing about us not fully agreeing, I can imagine some people saying, hey, but on the podcast, you never push back, you push back. But I mean, it's not meant to also be like a fight to the death, right? It's getting people's perspectives. We can push back where we want. If we have questions, I mean, we can always get her on again. We
have matured since the days that we demanded apologies from people on the podcast.
Correct. That was 2018. And then I was guilty.
Demand an apology.
I think that podcast
Nobody asked for an apology, Harish.
No, did I demand? Or like he just came out?
I mean, if you push people enough in the corner, that something has to break, right?
Yeah,
either they break or apology comes out as evidence.
And the podcast is still out there somewhere.
Is there?
It's out there somewhere.
A little Easter egg for those who have followed, who maybe haven't followed us for the longest time. There is a podcast where there was a public apology.
Apology, yeah.
For you to find, yeah.
Not from us.
Not from us, yeah.
From the guests.
Yeah.
And I saw also someday, the other day on YouTube, I think on one of the comments, was like a timestamp for 1736. The conversation starts here. Tag me later. So basically, people skipping forward this early banter. Yeah. And
they're lost.
Yeah, they're lost. Exactly.
Yeah. Because we've also heard the feedback that like this, some people love this part. It's like the best part of everything. Yeah. Right?
In fact, like I think the previous episode, there were people saying they were laughing out loud in public and getting all embarrassed.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. And also, even when I was talking about China and going to and finding our roots and all that, I think it triggered some of our listeners to go actually go on Singapore subreddit and ask questions about that. And unrelated to us, like their own pursuit of their own roots and all that.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm glad that we are, making people think about themselves and where they are in society and also relative to other people.
Yeah, I guess there was also a slow news week. So when there's slow news, then we have to come up with other shit.
No, but every episode we spend a bit of time bantering like this. Right?
True.
Yeah. And it's a necessary preamble, right? It's a necessary preamble.
Hey. But remember, keep your preamble short, Terence. You keep your preamble short.
It's necessary. I believe it's necessary. Before we jump to the meat.
That's why you're not in Parliament, Terence.
Yeah.
Parliament preamble not allowed.
We'll be shot down by the speaker. They'll have a sniper come and shoot you down because you're just going on for too long.
Especially if you are a particular person.
No, not true. Depends. Everyone is subject to the same rules.
That is true, Terence. Yes. That is true. Very true, Terence.
Very true.
Yeah, very true. But yes, before we jump into it, what's our regular spiel, Terence?
Yeah, if you're new to this podcast or maybe you just got enraged by the Face Eye podcast and you're new here, please like, share, follow, subscribe. Don't skip the banter beforehand. And what else would we want you to do?
If you want to work with us in any way, you're a brand, you're an individual, you're a client, just someone who wants to do cool shit, you can drop us a message at ministryoffunny.com. Or just email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah. Actually, maybe a fun exercise would be to ask people on YouTube especially, just comment below when you started listening to Yalla Butler, right? Because it'd be interesting to see when people on YouTube especially started listening to us.
Oh, that's true.
Because we actually don't 100% know.
Yeah.
We know the subscriber base grew a lot last year.
Yeah.
But when did people actually start listening?
Yeah. So if you're listening now, seriously, there'll still be 20 seconds before we start getting into the meat of the matter. Go and put the comment down on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
All
right. This is the moment where you can thank the guy. Thank the guy for skipping towards that.
That's why. Because Parliament sat on Wednesday and Thursday, 8th and 9th January 2025, first Parliament sitting of the year, and you could almost predict what they were going to talk about. The big things. And of course, the biggest of all was the recent kerfuffle involving the unmasking of NRIC numbers. That was an issue that we spoke about previously already.
Yep.
I think we spoke about after there was that public apology by Josephine, Indranee, and the current CEO of ACRA. But now there were apparently 51 parliamentary questions filed about this whole issue.
Yeah.
And Jotio and Indranee spent an hour with their ministerial statements and then another hour answering queries. But overall, Terence, what's your feeling after you digested all that?
I think, again, similar to a previous discussion, first things first, the parameters. Let's not use the word gaslight to describe anything.
Why not, Terence? That's the buzzword of the year, man.
Exactly. I feel it's overused already. People, the meaning of it is lost. And everything's just attributed to gaslighting. Whereas maybe there are points where people are trying to explain something. And then there are points where they're trying to influence you to think a certain way. So let's not just characterize everything as gaslighting. It just becomes too easy a way to paint someone as having nefarious intentions, right? Yeah. So that's the first thing. But I was quite shocked at the number of questions there were from both sides of the aisle. That means not just opposition, but also PAP supporters. Because Josephine Teo, during her speech, she was reading out the names of all the people who had the questions. And sometimes the names would be 10 seconds of names that she had to go through. These 10, I don't know how many people asked this particular question, so I'm going to answer this and blah, 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 blah. So it was quite shocking, the number of questions that came up. But tells you that that's the parliamentary process, right? Where even if it's your own party, but you have certain questions, you should ask them, right? Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I think there was a lot of clarifications that were made. There was a lot of info that was shared. There were a lot of questions that were asked. But at the end of the day, right, it feels like this is a big security lapse that we are all now going to have to maybe review certain things on our end, which we maybe might not have needed to do, or to be a bit more cognizant. And that's where I feel oh, shit. I can imagine that's why people use the word gaslighting, which I also think, it's too overused now. But it almost feels this shit happened, and okay, now we all have to deal with it.
Yeah,
we
I do
all
feel
have to deal with it.
Yeah, I do feel like this parliamentary sitting, or at least this parliamentary questions on that, almost should be two separate things, right? One is to talk about the mistake of like what happened with ACRA and all that, and what led up to that, and then the other one is about the new paradigm when it comes to dealing with your NRIC number, the fact that these two were put so closely together, in fact, like conflated, right? I feel that's where people are annoyed, because it feels like somebody made a mistake and then that somebody comes and lectures you about why the mistake is not so bad, right? That's what it feels like. And that's why people are justifiably a bit irritated by it. I don't say gaslight, but I would say like, I think these two are two very important issues that require, a substantial amount of time. But the fact that they were like conflated and put together in the same parliamentary sitting doesn't give each side enough time, and just makes it feel like someone, like the person who made the mistake is now lecturing you about why that mistake is not a problem.
Yeah, at first when you're going there, I'm like, well, what do you mean? So, I mean, essentially, it's like, let's say you lend me a book, and then I already knew that you were going to throw away this book.
Yeah.
And then I lost it. And I'm like, Terence, I lost this book.
No, this has happened for us before. This happened to us before. What? I remember there was one time you forwarded me something from a group, a WhatsApp group, a particular WhatsApp group that you thought was private, right? You forwarded me something that, of course it was related to news, all that.
Yeah.
Then I think I subsequently forwarded that to other people, right? Outside of your circle or my circle, I forwarded it to people. Yeah. And then somehow that screenshot of that WhatsApp somehow came back to your group, right?
With the original person who sent it inside.
Exactly. So
we need to spend like 2 hours.
We need to spend 2 hours. So my forwarding your message, somehow it got out immediately, and then it really made its way around, right?
Yeah.
Then I think you got very kanchong because your friend group got very kanchong, right?
Yeah.
And then you messaged me asking me if I had sent it, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I called you, I was like, yeah, I did, but it's nothing much, right? It's just a screenshot of something, right? No name, nothing, right? So why so kanchong? Yeah, that kind of thing, And then I think it was very irritating, right?
It was, yeah. Because to me, that is the bigger thing is, yes, that info, okay, it wasn't the most sensitive, but it meant that I was one of those people in the group that forwarded. So in the end, I had to go to the group and say, yo guys, it was me. I'm really, really sorry.
Do you add on that actually? But it's not a very big deal, actually.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's happening here. The problem is that, when I mean, technically, it wasn't really a mistake on my part, right? I didn't know it was confidential. Right? I didn't know it was confidential. But then later you explained that, he's your friend and things like that, maybe sensitive, all that. Okay lah. Then, but my immediate defense mechanism kicked in. I was like, no it's no big deal lah. Right? That's why you're making such big fuss.
Yeah, you took on the role of an MP lah. Hey, what? Why? It's not, and it was fucking annoying. It was there.
And you had to like go back to your group with your tail between your legs and apologize, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I figured, okay, these kind of things, because there's it's just something that I hold quite highly also that if people do this and I breach the thing, then I have to own up to it lah.
Yeah. So the beautiful part about that breach between the two of us is after that we came out with a very strict protocol. That if you forward me something and it needs to be confidential, you need to type it out in capital letters, confidential.
Yeah, correct.
And that has helped us along the way to make sure things are clear.
So we changed our processes.
First, we admitted there was a lapse somewhere, and we merely thought about how to change the process. And it's worked, right?
But it took a lot of parliamentary questions filed for you to admit that, okay, maybe that was not the best.
Yeah. Correct.
But yeah, that's true. And like, I think, I didn't think about it that way, but those two issues, in some way, maybe it kind of muddles everything. Because when I was listening to the parliament thing, I was like, wait, is it really that big an issue? Is it something that, I would have had to take note of already? And this is just something that, it happened. Maybe it expedited certain things, but it would have been inevitable for us to relook our use of NRICs.
Correct, yeah.
So, like, how would you, for someone who maybe not so clued in, how would you separate the two things? Like what is the context?
One is MDDI put out a circular to government agencies, right? That they're going forward, they're not going to, NRICs are not going to be used as a secure identifier and all that.
Authenticator.
Right? So basically, NRICs are not, the going forward is not going to be like how it was before, right? But somehow, somewhere in there was a misinterpretation by people at ACRA that they could openly just show the NRIC in searches, right? And then they launched that new service on December 9th. That was later discovered by OG journalist Bertha Hansen, right? And she sounded alarm bells that you can just you can find out a lot of people's NRICs, even policy office holders in
as long as they have some business dealings or involved in some business.
In the past, not even currently or anything as well.
Yeah.
So that is a very big, I wouldn't even say it's a breach. I mean, in some ways it is a breach, right? Because we have always expected, all over the years, in the last 5 years, we've expected NRICs to be very sensitive private information, right? But the other issue is that, given the evolution of SingPass and all these things that we use these days, that's true. The NRIC is no longer what it used to be as a very secure way to identify you as an individual, right? So maybe things need to evolve and we need to move away from using that. So that is, I think, a public education campaign that was meant to be begun this year, right? But ACRA had jumped the gun and instituted this before this whole public education campaign happened, right? So that's why I see them as they are two very separate things. One is a sort of quite a kind of a mistake that happened in isolation, by itself. Another one is a very long public education campaign that needs to happen over a year or 2 years, if anything. And it's not that the ACRA thing was happening while this public education thing was going on, right? So I feel like they need to be addressed separately. One is, in essence, a data breach. The other one is a change of policy, right? That's why I say that conflating the two of them just feels like you're not giving enough time for the especially the data breach side of things.
Actually, I would classify more less of a data breach, but just a miscom. Because what Indranee and Jotio shared is that there is this ongoing policy to reduce the use of masked numbers, right?
Yep.
And what I found surprising is that when the MDDI circular was sent to all the entities, one of which is ACRA, they had an internal debate in ACRA about whether or not this means that, okay, we're going to stop unmasking NRIC numbers. Do we just share unmasked NRIC numbers? And they raised it to MDDI. And Indranee said after that, there was some miscom which led to ACRA thinking that, we should unmask the numbers.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh shit, that sounds like a big thing. And there were a few questions asking what exactly happened there. So as much as, I agree that those two issues are very separate, but I mean, it's also, I think at one point, Leong Man Wai said, I don't understand why this can't just be an apology from ACRA. And then the minister's response saying what we need to do and case close.
Yeah.
And to Indranee's credit, she pointed out that is actually what happened at that press conference, right?
Yeah.
But because there were so many questions that were asked, they had to answer. So that's why I feel like the issues coming together, yes, I mean, in the ministerial statements, they kind of muddled it, but the questions also don't help separate them. And that's why I feel like, wow, this whole thing is just becoming like a mess. And I feel, now we are having to do extra stuff to, verify our security.
Or change your SingPass and everything, right?
Yeah. And this is in the immediate thing. The one thing that was shocking was 500,000 queries were made from 28,000 IP addresses.
Yeah.
Which means likely, human or not, you are doing multiple. And all these kind of things, we don't know when this sort of things would have repercussions.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've spoken about social engineering before, right?
Yep.
Where you can hack through security systems, not just through passwords and all, but by names of pets, when you have your favorite question, online reviews. And now NRIC, if it just adds a bit more credibility to a social hacker, then there's a big danger.
Yeah.
So that's where it feels like, okay, they were answering the thing. Of course, I think the Indranee and Jotio are also limited by the fact that the investigation is going on. So to give them benefit of the doubt, they also don't want to speak on behalf of that. But the rest of the answers, I did feel like, it becomes like, you were going to have to review your passwords anyway. This happened, so review it quickly.
They accelerated the process.
Don't wait. Then it feels it's a bit weird.
I think you're right. In the sense that maybe it really should not be characterized as a data breach per se, but a miscommunication that led to panic because in the general public believes that NRIC is sensitive private data, right? And it's not been communicated that we'll be moving away from that this year, right? But that's it. Again, I think what Leong Man Wai was saying is true, in that how come we're not focusing on that first part first of how this miscommunication happened, and just really lay out the timeline and the steps and the events that led to this, rather than saying it's a miscom and investigations are still going on. I think maybe there's some expectations that there should be a much clearer understanding of how it happened, rather than waiting for another parliamentary session to do it, right? Because people are asking all these questions now, and it's not, yes, it's the start of the year, but it's also been like 2 weeks since then already, which is... Since
the NRIC thing was 13th, 12th December.
Yeah, even longer than that. Yeah, there's been an ample amount of time to prepare for parliament, sorry. So that's why I feel people also... Pritam Singh was also saying it, and I think Leong Man Wai is saying it, is that they were not getting a lot of answers about how this miscommunication happened in the first place.
Yeah, and I guess actually that's true. Maybe I'm getting too used to the fact that when they say investigation is going on, I'm like, okay, investigation needs time. Does it really? The full investigation can take time.
Yeah.
But I think if you keep hiding behind that, that's also not fair.
Especially if you are the boss. Yeah. You are the head. It's like what happened at Singpost as well, right?
Yeah.
When they essentially have been fired for not taking an investigation seriously or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
That's part of corporate governance, or you need to, you can't use "I'm not very sure" as an answer a lot of times when questions are asked, right?
Yeah, and by saying, and they both said it quite a few times, Jyoto and Indranee, that okay, I'm speaking from what I know, but we have to wait for the full investigation.
Yeah.
But how many fucking full investigations are going on now? The NTUC Allianz thing also, there's an investigation going on. And by the time it comes out...
Is there an investigation going on for that?
I think there is. Or NTUC is reviewing the government's feedback.
But not investigation, right?
Okay, not investigation, but just, I think, maybe not investigation, but reviewing how it came to be that the 2 billion carry was going to be reimbursed, and how that miscom happened. There's something happening.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if they are appearing in Parliament a month later, there needs to be a bit more substance. Because, even some of the things that Jyoto said, right, the one thing I took away is that, okay, NRIC numbers are unique identifiers.
Yeah.
But the physical NRIC is an authenticator. So that just means that online, if you're picking up medicine, after you have already authenticated yourself, someone just wants to correctly identify that you are John Tan, they read out. But if they want to get specific info on something, you can show your NRIC.
Yep.
Then Sylvia Lim said, okay, there's a physical NRIC, but then now a lot of people refer to the NRIC in SingPass. Is that also an authenticator or just an identifier?
Yeah.
Then Jyoto said, that is an authenticator. Then I'm like, wasn't there a recent case where someone managed to pay once to a restaurant with a doctored Photoshop of PayNow?
Yeah.
If I correct me wrong, but for SingPass, when you do your NRIC, there's no animation or something, so it's hard to verify that is it a Photoshop thing or something. But that is now an authenticator.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh fuck, do we all need new NRIC numbers or something? I don't even know what the risks are, but it just felt like I didn't feel like, oh shit. In fact, I felt like, oh, now there's a lot more info about us potentially out there.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, it's true that it's very confusing now, right, everything. And that's why I feel like, it still needs a lot of time to debate about this, or at least discuss this in Parliament, right? But again, I said, everything's been conflated together. So some are asking about how that miscom happened, and then some are asking about the bigger details about NRIC and the use of NRIC. But I was talking to somebody who, raised a very good point to me, and I maybe because we are a small company and all that, we don't think about these things that much. Although we have PDPA stuff in place, right, for our shoots and all. But this someone was pointing out to me that how many man hours within his large organization have been wasted, thinking about solutions around getting around not being able to take people's NRIC, say visitors to a building, especially, if you work in a big organization where there are a lot of visitors and things like that, right? Or you need to capture some of that sensitive data. They have to take so many courses, and they have to take all these onboarding kind of courses and things like that they have to do. How every single employee has to do that. So how many man hours have been spent adhering to PDPA and all these things, right? And now suddenly they're just turning around and saying, oh, all this is out the window already. The last 5 years of work that has been put into instituting all these policies in place for private organizations is out the door. So that's what he's pissed off about, lah. It's not so much about being scared there's NRICs out there, or what, but it's about you make us jump through so many hoops in the last 5 years. Then all of a sudden, ACRA itself just like turns around and just like does this thing. And suddenly we're just being told that, oh, your last 5 years of work is like useless.
Oh, because that move towards not using unmasked NRIC or something, it was rolled out in the public sector and meant to roll out in the private sector. And that's what your friend is going to be subject to.
I mean, as in his organization in the last 5 years has already been trying to keep NRICs masked and private and all these things, especially when a big building has
then
visitors.
Move away from using.
Yeah, now suddenly turn around and say that that's not a priority anymore, right? So it's like everything that they've spent the last 5 years, like, building and, processes and systems are out the window.
But then your friend never go for the feedback sessions.
Maybe not, I don't know. But I mean, there's so many organizations, all right. I'm sure not all of them were part of the feedback process. So that's why he's very pissed off about this whole thing, as opposed to like on your individual privacy level. Although I think we talked about this the last time, right? Like where I think in some ways Singaporeans, we kind of take a lot of these things for granted, right? Your privacy, your anonymity and things like that. And that's one thing that only when, having the chance to live overseas and just understand what it means to have your privacy and your anonymity almost guaranteed or protected in some way, right? That's something we don't have here in Singapore. There's this feeling like by default you are subject to, scrutiny and surveillance and all that, which is not a healthy thing to grow up with.
Yeah, true. Maybe if this happened in another country, I think the repercussions and backlash would be a lot more. And that's why I think James Lim also brought up this whole thing about, are we being desensitized to like the privacy of NRIC? But then he got shot down by Jo Teo, who scolded him for that characterization.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is like right now, what also shocked me was like, ACRA had an internal meeting about whether or not to unmask NRICs.
Yeah.
And then they clarified with MDDI, got back some info which the investigation will reveal, and then decided it's a good idea. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, you are a business where you already have 2 levels of people search. Previously, you search someone's name, you can get some info with a masked NRIC. If you want the full NRIC, you need to pay.
Yeah.
So already ingrained in ACRA is that, okay, there are different levels to info, and if people want this info, they have to pay. But then somehow, call it the lack of wisdom of the crowds or something, they all very unanimously thought, okay, it's no issue if they unmask the NRIC. That makes me think like, oh shit, that feels like a huge problem that I hope the investigation unmasks. Because it's like the group think,
Yep.
And it feels like, oh shit, this happened probably at so many levels. And then the website also didn't have a tool to prevent scrapers.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they mentioned that, right? And it was just so casually, there was no tool and that has since been fixed.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you are, how does this make sense? Like everything, even the common layperson knows you've heard bots before, right?
Yeah.
For sneaker buying and all that.
Yeah.
And there's no automatic protection for an entry where you can key in someone's name and get some output for a government website. I feel like, oh, are there many other government websites that might have lapses?
Yeah.
So, oh shit. Bit worrying lah.
It is worrying, yeah. And I feel like going back to what you're saying, where even the tone of delivery of a lot how the speeches were structured, I do feel like they almost make it like so casual, like trying to move on from the mistake already. Let's move on from the mistake and focus on what's going on.
It's like the first phone call I had with you after you fucking forwarded my thing.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
No big deal. Nobody knows one lah. It's okay lah. No name. Then I think when the gravity of it hit me when you like the exact screenshot was sent back to your group. Right?
The exact
screenshot where I mean, not that there are any identifiers in the screenshot, but it kind of exposed that there was a there was a mole in your group of friends, right?
Correct,
which made you look bad. And then I reflected on that, I was like, okay, I think it puts you in quite a difficult position where you had to make a public apology.
Hold a WhatsApp press conference, I screwed up. But I never throw you under the bus.
Correct.
I never throw you under your bus.
So, I mean, that's the thing, right? I think we were generally like quite, I wouldn't say pleasantly surprised, but we thought that, okay, the apology, at least it felt like
step in the right direction.
Quite contrite. But this one, I feel like, again, it goes back to that, like just trying to defend the position again, and goes back to the earlier section, the very first MDDI statement where it felt like they're trying to downplay the situation as it is.
Yeah, and almost like, it was going to happen anyway, so better.
So no big deal, right? But you're don't be stupid, right? Don't make a mistake for NRIC and think that it's not it's a very secure thing, right?
Yeah, I think one of the MPs also asked whether there can be compensation for the NRICs that were disclosed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think Indranee said no, generally no. Which, I mean, of course, understandable. 500,000 NRICs. It just feels, but I don't know, if someone does get their security compromised where NRIC was a part of it, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Yeah. And whether it's scripted up by a bot or something like that.
We will never know.
We don't know, right?
So I mean, like, for us, we change our WhatsApp protocols,
yes.
Right? I hope every government agency sees this and be like, oh shit, can we check like everything, everything that discloses some info? Because if this happened 15 years ago, okay, less concerned. Now with the scam attacks and all, right? It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. We become very easy targets, right?
Yeah. In fact, Singapore is one of the most, one of the biggest targets in the world.
Yeah.
Because we're all just taking everything for granted.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But do you get the sense that Singaporeans generally, we don't take our privacy or what for very seriously, right? I do feel, yes, you can be surveilled and everything, right? But doesn't mean that you should be okay with everything being out there, right? Your phone number, your address, and your IC and things like that.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's a unique identifier. I mean, one thing I did learn from here is please don't name your children John Tan. Because Jo Teo, straight away, that's an example where John Tan is a very poor, it's not a unique identifier of a person, right?
And I'm sure you know some John Tans.
Yeah. More than my fair share, So don't name your children John Tan, please.
Yeah. I guess John Tan is the Singapore equivalent of John Doe.
Yeah. Or Joe Smith.
Joe Smith, John Tan. To all John Tans out there, I mean, at least you got your name mentioned in Parliament.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome to the
club. Welcome to the club. Oh, man. But, man. Interesting. This is definitely not going to end because once the investigation comes out, it'll definitely come up. And the number of questions that were asked, interesting.
Yeah. And I guess, like we mentioned last time, responsibility versus accountability, right? A lot of people are taking responsibility for it, but who's going to be accountable for this lapse?
Oh, but do you hear Jo Teo's little joke also in the middle?
No, which one?
When after Sylvia Lim asked the question, she congratulated Sylvia Lim on her recent nuptials. And she said, I hope you must have used your NRIC for the number for the ROM. Then I was like, okay, there's a time and place for a joke like that. And another thing also I noticed that, we're all about environmental sustainability and all, but a lot of the notes that are printed for at least Jo Teo and Indranee, printed on one-sided paper.
Oh, is it? But I mean, okay, to be fair, when you give a speech and all that, having stuff on two sides makes it very difficult to transition from page to page. You know what I mean? Like if it's on the same side, then you are let's say you're trying to read and trying to make it as smooth a transition as possible.
The whole head must turn like that.
Yeah, you must flip the page and all that. Whereas if you have them side by side, you can sort of get ready for the next page, Yeah. So given that their job is about, giving speeches and being as eloquent as possible, I don't take that I don't begrudge them that. Yeah.
I don't know whether you get some MPs also who use iPads and all. Just something to notice.
Nitpicking.
Notice.
You're nitpicking.
I'm a nitpicker. That's our professional job.
But do you see whether it was opposition or PAP MPs that were using more
I
paper.
mean, the ring file is more obvious for Indranee and Jotio because a lot of stacks of paper.
Correct.
I'm not so sure. I think definitely some PAP MPs also use like iPads or just paper in general.
Yeah.
But suddenly, I mean, it's just something to note.
Okay.
But man, definitely something that is going to be brought up again.
Yeah. So, it was quite heated debate and sparring going on in Parliament, right, between PAP ministers and opposition MPs also. But there was actually something happening on the ground not too long ago, just about like 6 days ago, that was almost came to physical altercation between PAP and opposition party supporters, right? And what is this altercation about?
It is supposed, physical altercations that happened on January 4th at Bukit Gombak between volunteers from the Progress Singapore Party, PSP, and volunteers from the PAP, People's Action Party. So, I mean, I'm not sure who posted the first claim, but at this point, there are multiple accounts.
Yeah.
One from Mr. Azman Ibrahim, who identified himself as one of the volunteers, one of the PAP volunteers.
No, it started with PSP, the PSP people first.
Oh, started with PSP people.
Yeah.
It is...
PSP member S. Nala Karupan,
okay,
who gave an account of how he and his volunteers were stalked and harassed throughout their walkabout at Block 386. Is it Good View or...
Good View. I think it's Good View.
Yeah, Good View.
Yeah, Good View.
By Bukit Gombak, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and then after that, Tan Cheng Bok also echoed that. And then, so January 4th, he posted that. January 8th, MP for Choa Chu Kang GRC, Low Yen Ling, accused PSP of twisting the truth and giving an untrue picture of what happened. These untrue accounts have led to doxing and considerable distress to my volunteers. And then I think in her post she also said that some of her volunteers were slapped. And then after that there was another account from a supposed PAP volunteer with videos.
The one who was mentioned as volunteer number 1.
Yeah,
volunteer in Low Link's post, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like at this point, what do you make of it, Terence? You saw a spat, in Parliament. Spat on the streets.
I think it's interesting. I mean, things are getting heated because it is election year. But this is an important discussion for us and all of us as people. Like, what kind of politics do you want to see in this year's election, right? Either way, from both sides, it doesn't look the best for both sides, right? On one hand, you see some of the PAP volunteers who... the video is quite clear, especially there's one video of 2 PSP volunteers and 2 PAP volunteers in the same lift, and they're all filming each other, right? Yeah. They're filming each other, and the PAP volunteer is waving the phone quite aggressively, waving it almost like trying to shoot a
one of those TikTok.
Those TikTok
but
transition
he was
videos.
not in PAP attire, right?
That's the thing. But he has come on and said that he was a PAP volunteer already. He was the one who was identified in Low Yen Ling's post. And he is that PAP volunteer. But you're right, he's not wearing PAP attire. So you're not even 100% sure if he's a PAP volunteer, right? Then the other man also is filming. He's taking selfie videos of himself and the PSP member. So there's just a lot of people holding up phones in each other's faces going on, right? And that's why I think there was also a newspaper article who interviewed residents in the area who have called the spat childish on both sides, right? There are no winners in this situation. It's very much a he say, she say. But now it has also escalated to a police case because someone has reported this incident to the police. But what do you think when you saw all this?
I mean, initially I was a bit confused. I'm like, wait. Who is a he says, she says, he says kind of thing. But then there were different levels of evidence also.
Yeah.
And when you watch any of those pieces in isolation, it makes the other party look very bad. But then there's also the counter on both sides. So then it feels like, I really hope this is not going to set, it's not a hint at how these sort of on-the-ground shenanigans are going to happen. Because like what you said, there are no winners.
Yeah.
There are no winners in this, and it just feels like, hey, fuck, this is the kind of politics that, I mean, you see in other countries. But now if it's happening in Singapore, it's like, wow, shit, man.
Yeah. But I think there are allegations on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Of childish, unprofessional, even violent behavior. But I think it's worth like looking at some of these actions in isolation and breaking down a bit, right? Of whether they are as bad as they seem. So I think one thing very interesting you mentioned is that the PAP volunteers were not wearing PAP uniform.
Yeah.
Do you think there's something they should change? When they go on their walkabouts, all that, they should be identified.
I think they should I think they should because
the PSP ones did, right?
PAP,
the volunteers,
PSP,
they are wearing PSP
ones did.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this day and age of scams and, like not being able to identify who someone really is, what is their agenda, I do think that if you're going on political walkabouts, you should wear your political party uniform. I think that's for me. For you?
Yeah, definitely 100%. Because if whatever you're doing in life, if someone just comes up to you, you can't identify who he is, a police or whatever, and just starts filming you, you would feel uncomfortable, right? Your immediate reaction would be to, seek help, call the police or something, or is this guy trying to film an upskirt video or upshirt video of me or things like that, right? And the fact that they were doing it to the female volunteers or so, that's what and it's all captured on camera, so we can say that as a fact, right? That was done. That makes me very uncomfortable, right? Watching things like that. Imagine if that was your wife or your mother or your sister or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
A man holding a camera in their face like that. I feel very uncomfortable with that. So, the very least, I think if you want going to be doing that, you got to identify yourself as from which organization or what you're doing this for, right? Yeah.
And yeah, so and I mean, I think the claims can also be quite damaging. I mean, so the S. Nala Karupan's first post, he added some photos, but no evidence of the altercations, For Lo Yen Ling's post, that one there was no evidence, and somehow she, said that one of her volunteers was slapped twice. But it also feels like, hey, that's a big allegation,
yeah. So that volunteer, he did post a video where he claimed to show that where he was slapped, right?
Yeah, but then then we have to trust that he's the volunteer,
He said he was.
Yeah, but he said
Correct. So he says that he was that volunteer one that was mentioned in the post.
What did we learn from Parliament, Terence? Just because someone says your NRIC number, is it them?
Okay, yeah, true. But okay, let's take it at face value that was him, right?
Yeah.
I'm just analyzing the video because the video basically shows him filming someone. Then as that person is walking away, there's a audible sound, a tuck or something like that appears in the video, and the phone moves slightly. And he captions there that was where he was slapped, right? By the PSP volunteer walking away. So on closer examination of the video and how it led up to that, at that point, he and the PSP person were almost locked in they were like wrestling, like almost like martial arts, where their phones were in each other's faces and their arms were almost interlocking and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
it was a dance.
Yeah, he was trying to take a selfie. The PSP person was trying to take a selfie video together with that person, and the other person was trying to move away, but also still taking his own video. So it could have, speculation, but it could have been in trying to disengage, like the phone or the hand accidentally hit the face, right?
Yeah.
And then it was maybe misunderstood as a slap or felt like a slap, right? When actually it was the fact that they were locked up so tightly and then they were trying to disengage at that point. And it's in the video, you can even hear one of the PSP volunteers telling the other person, the other PSP volunteer to sort of disengage and walk away, right? So that's where it could have been thought of as a slap, right? But again, we don't have definitive evidence that a slap happened.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. Then there was another. What do you think of this action of putting the phone in each other's faces?
Fucking hate it,
Hate it, from both sides, right?
Yeah, from both sides.
Yeah.
And this sort of behavior, but okay, I hate it. But if one person draw the phone, how are you going to fight that?
That's where maybe the other protocol is that you shouldn't go alone to this kind of walkabouts and all that, right? Where you can have someone else filming what's happening to you, right? Whereas if you're trying to film yourself or that, ends up you end up doing the same thing that someone else is doing to you, right? Where you're trying to film the other person and he's filming you and all that. And then there's a he say, she say about who started it first. But that said, I would say the PAP volunteers' actions look a lot more aggressive, especially the part in the lift where he's like, moving the phone around, like trying to capture a better angle of the person's face. That felt pretty aggressive to me, like pretty intimidating, right? The kind of things that you would experience when you're being bullied in school and all that, right? Someone's trying to humiliate you and all. So I wasn't a fan of seeing that.
Yeah, and I mean, it just feels like for PSP, to their credit, they're wearing their uniform.
Yeah.
The moment it's like someone not decked out in an attire, claiming to be a volunteer for a party, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound good. Because even a few weeks ago, there was a case of that guy who was accused of owning a vape, right?
Yeah.
And there were these plainclothes people who came up and said, we are from this. It's just a lot harder to sell. And at this point, I'm not saying PSP is like totally innocent, because the moment you interlock, the moment it's physical altercation, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's just fucking, you don't look like you're doing some swan dance or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so then another instance of it also was, I think that particular PAP volunteer, he also posted a video where he was filming a video, he was recording the group of PSP volunteers talking to another PAP volunteer. And then one of the PSP volunteers comes up right up to his face in front of the camera and apparently uses their flyers to like either try and block the phone or hit his phone away, right? What do you think of that?
That was also not good. Not
good from which side?
As in, the moment there's physical force, right?
But they're just trying to block, right? Just trying to block the filming. That's all.
Yeah, but there's a difference if, like, I put my hand over your eyes and I float, I'm like, hey, Terrence, you can't do anything, as opposed to putting my hand on your face.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's just flyers or
the reason why that thing is so annoying as a kid is like, I'm not poking you. I'm not poking you.
Yeah.
But the moment is like the atoms all touch. I mean, the electrons all touch. That one a bit hard.
A bit off really. Right?
A bit off.
But would you say that then, as a, someone who volunteers for a political party, you should be aware that this kind of scrutiny, this kind of thing will happen to you, where people will want to be much more in your face, or they will disagree with you on things and maybe even get confrontational, all that.
Yeah.
That's part of the job, right?
Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
So that's why maybe they all need body cams. They all need body cams.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
They all need body cams. Because this whole in your face thing is like, because it's not the first instance of some altercations when people are walking about, right?
I mean, the classic one was Chee Soon Juan following Goh Chok Tong
with
around.
The loud hailer.
Yeah, the loud hailer. Mr. Goh, where's our money and all that. That was the classic one. And then I think if anything, Singaporeans don't take kindly to that kind of behavior, right? I think Dr. Chee has, for a lot of people our age and all, we remember those incidents, and they left a very bad taste in our mouths, right? Which I think Dr. Chee, even today, he's still trying to move away from that image in some ways, right? So same thing here. I don't think it's a good look for either side, what they're doing. But I really do think that the PAP volunteers, they should be dressed more professionally if they're really doing their rounds as volunteering and all that. Because, I mean, credit to the Online Citizen, they really managed to dig up and who these volunteers were just based on those videos, right? And even show that they were at the PAP event, the PAP 70th anniversary event last year, which is like, wow, this is really like next level vindictiveness in some way. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's like, all these people, and then everyone's coming out and saying, oh, I got doxed, and like, oh, I'm a victim now and all that. So that's also annoying, right? If you were the one holding the phone up in people's faces, then now you turn around and say that, hey, I got doxed in my family, I'm very stressed and all these things. I'm like, I mean, you asked for it.
Yeah. And I mean, just when you mentioned the website, I think even the Online Citizen, they showed a picture of one of the PAP volunteers with a PAP pin. But there's no standard attire. But it goes back to the same thing. If you're doing political walkabouts, I think attire would reduce the confusion here.
Yeah. The other thing that also made me a bit wouldn't say scared, but when I see political volunteers or volunteers for political parties and all that, if they're going around in plain clothes, harassing people, wearing all black caps, trying to cover up the thing, it really feels like 1930s or 1920s Germany, right? With Hitler and his SS walking around terrorizing people and all that, right? Not that we lived through the era, but we read about it, we studied it, and we know what it felt like back then, right? And that kind of intimidation that was going on to pressure people into voting, which, that TNP article that interviewed the residents, they claimed, right, that a PAP volunteer apparently went door to door to tell people not to open the doors to PSP volunteers coming. I mean, that's crazy, man. That's like, why that almost feels like you're trying to intimidate the residents who live there, right? Or like trying to get them to physically do something that just to not interact with the PSP volunteers, which sounds to me, that's crazy. That's like 1920s Germany already.
Maybe anytime they're doing these walkabouts, we should go there on our trishaw. Just watch and see what unfolds. Because we don't want like anytime there's like different political parties doing on a walkabout, it's like two gangs
Yeah.
It's basically
correct.
Two gangs
Yeah, and I think in recent times there have been the PAP volunteers and opposition party volunteers who are walking the ground at the same time. They've actually like done nice things for each other, like gave drinks to each other and things like that. If I'm not wrong, I remember reading in recent couple of months, right? They're on the same walkabouts and they actually have done nice gestures to each other. And that's the kind of thing that I feel like that's great, right?
Yeah,
for a democracy, for a country that's trying to establish a very robust parliamentary system, right?
Yeah.
We respect differing views, and like what Lawrence Wong says, right?
Yeah.
Respect differing views. We take into account all feedback, and not the having volunteers run door to door and tell people to not open your doors for the opposition volunteers.
That's why I guess now with the police investigation, this is not just going to end off here,
Yeah.
Because police investigation has to happen,
Yeah. I think some people in comments of these posts are saying that, at the end of the day, if the allegations are so serious where it literally becomes physical assault, slapping someone, it has to be a police case, right? If you, in Singapore, if there are any kind of allegations against people of such a serious nature, it doesn't go, you don't just say, I don't want to report to police, and then it just goes away. People, you have to go and get it verified and get it to police to really verify what happened.
Yeah. And that's why, because there's an investigation, there will be the results of the investigation.
Yes. Hopefully.
So, if you see any walkabouts happening in your area, I'm also curious, is it a norm that there are political walkabouts where people don't necessarily wear their party's outfit? And I think people should be more cognizant of that also. Yeah,
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, the year, no more festive cheer already, man.
The hustings have begun.
Yeah, hustings have begun. But yeah, man.
But yes, no more festive cheer. Speaking of that, what is your one Shiok comment of this round?
One Shiok comment. Do you have yours?
Mine. Let me pull up from Reddit, right? But basically, I'm very glad that we have a very strong Reddit community, because people have come in. We asked and people delivered, right? We asked about jam tarts, right? We asked whether Harish's use of the word jam tarts, is there a particular reason why people why Harish still persists in using, Harish and family, right, persists in using the term jam tarts rather than say pineapple tarts, like most Chinese Singaporeans, or Singaporeans, I would say, in general, do. And, for example, this post by Original Good One. Jam tarts are an English confectionery. Possibly Harish's ancestors started using jam tart as the generic term for tarts with jam or fruit toppings during the colonial period in India, and continue using it after moving to Singapore. So, Harish, now...
Fuck you, Terence. I have been justified that, it is just my family, it's a Indian tradition.
Colonial hangover, Still living in a colonial mindset, is it? That's what I got from this comment, that Yeah, it's a colonial hangover, basically.
I mean, colonial hangover, like, it's just, see, as Terence, as someone who, doesn't have parents, who left their home country and came to Singapore, both born in Singapore, right?
No. Nothing to say.
Both not born in Singapore.
One born in Singapore, the other...
okay lah, half lah.
Still, yeah.
So the whole gem tart thing, it wouldn't say it's a colonial hangover lah. It's just a way of saying something that doesn't seem like it's factually wrong either.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gem tart. I guess if every pineapple tart can be called a gem tart, but not every gem tart can be called a pineapple tart.
Correct.
Right. So with a gem tart, you are kind of, it's a catch-all.
Okay. Yeah.
You can just say, "Can I have a gem tart?"
Yeah.
If someone prepare like a.
But that's the thing. I might not, like, if I didn't know you, I would not know that you're referring to like a pineapple tart, right? Or even any kind of.
So if you have pineapple tarts at home and I come to your house and say, "Hey, got any jam tarts or not?"
What are we talking about? What jam tarts? Like, you want jam on a tart? That's what I'm asking. No, so my thing is, I mean, our podcast, we're not about like grand proclamations or anything. But are you ready to renounce your colonial hangover? And now that you know that jam tarts are colonial invention, like, were you ready to call them pineapple tarts from now on?
I mean, okay, unlike a lot of other things in the past, this one I actually have started using pineapple tarts more often.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, I'm like, okay lah, I don't have a strong feeling about the use of jam tarts.
Oh, okay.
And I don't.
It's not like omelette.
That one is just to annoy people, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, jam tarts, pineapple tarts. Yeah, pineapple tarts. Even yesterday, I was on a shoot and someone brought pineapple tarts. I said, can I have a pineapple tart?
Oh, awesome.
Because I also felt like, fuck lah, there's so many people I don't know here. If I have to go into the reason why I call it jam tart, I'm like, you know what? I just want to have the pineapple tart.
Okay.
So I say pineapple tart.
Good.
Yeah, pineapple tart.
So it's kind of, this is your, that crucial pivotal moment in your life lah. Like when Lee Kuan Yew decided, I will not be Harry Lee anymore. I'm going to be Lee Kuan Yew because I'm not going to...
I mean, in my family, I might still say, can I have a jam tart?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I have to code switch lah.
Code switch. Between colonial Harish and like
modern
Singaporean,
day, Singaporean Harish. The thing is, I'm not even the biggest fan of pineapple tarts / jam tarts.
Yeah.
If they're there, I don't think it's something I would ask. Like if it's a chocolate chip cookie, that's something I would ask. But yeah, jam tart. But wow, kudos to this listener, man.
Fucking beautiful moment when I read this. I was like, oh yes, can't wait for Harish to address his use of jam tarts.
It's great. It's great. My one Shiok Thing is a lot more just like, positively heartwarming. It's by Tangelo.
One Shiok Comment, right?
One Shiok Comment, yeah. Okay. Tangelo OK9358 on Reddit, which I guess is a new poster. Love the podcast that Harish and Terence is doing. Never really been a fan of podcasts until I chanced upon Yalabot on Spotify. It's pretty hard to find one that discusses about local topics. You guys keep me company during my commute to work. Hell yeah, man. So thanks for listening. Welcome to the family. And yeah, we're gonna keep cranking these out, man. All right, cool. What about your one Shiok Thing?
I don't know why, but the YouTube algorithm just recently recommended me this video from this YouTuber who's not a big one, but pretty okay. He's a guy called Chad Listen B or something. And it's very self-help, self-motivation kind of like content. But the video that he published that actually quite resonated with what I was thinking about was why life really begins at 40. So he posted a video. It's just him walking the woods talking about if you're in your 40s or entering or close to your 40s or something, why you should look at it as like a midlife awakening rather than a midlife crisis, right? That a lot of people think about. And I was just having kind of like some quite deep discussions with friends who were going through upheavals in their life in their 40s recently. And I just thought it's a very positive framing of how you should view the rest of your life from 40 onwards. That I was quite... I watched it, I was like, okay, I mean... doesn't apply to everyone. Not everything applies to everyone, because sounds like this guy has had a very full, successful life, but at the same time, I think there are people who need to hear the message that rather than approach it as a crisis, think of it as an awakening, right? And that you still have a good other half of your life to work through things, right?
Well, a lot of his videos just him walking through the forest,
just talking, walking through the forest and talking. So that's why I was like, I'm not very sure. I don't know if he's like a Trump supporter or whatever, but at least this video that I watched resonated with me quite a bit, and I sent it to a couple of people.
Yeah. Never send me.
Your life is set already, what? You're damn happy, new father, everything.
How you know? Maybe I'm internally struggling, Terence.
Yeah. So okay, you can now is your one Shiok Thing. Your life you can watch and understand.
You didn't want to pass me something that might become my one Shiok Thing, is it?
No. I have no qualms with that. But it's just that I send it to people that I felt needed it more, right? And for you, I think you're in the thick of like enjoying your awakening, in some ways. Right. I mean, literally your awakening every night.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of awakenings on a daily basis.
Of awakenings, yeah.
But
that's
cool,
a good video. And he does a cool thing where he asks everyone to comment on what how your 40s were a wake-up call for you or something like. So the comments also quite interesting. Everyone just like talks about how, how they encountered, some setback or something in their 40s and what gave them the perspective to overcome it.
So you've watched his other videos also?
One or two others, yeah, which are also not bad. They talk about materialism and things like that as well.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, his 40s video has 104k views and 1,700 comments, which is a pretty good comment ratio.
Yeah. And he's only got like 100k subscribers, so he's not like, millions or anything yet.
Cool, man.
Cool.
All right. My one Shiok Thing is, I mean, it's a silver lining to something that, I mean, objectively, it's quite sad. There was this 17-year-old girl who was rescued from a Punggol multi-story car park, 5th floor ledge. And I think it was happened on 7th January. So it's sad, like, it's another young person on the ledge who has been apprehended under the Mental Health Care and Treatment Act, which I guess means mental health issues. But what I found so heartwarming were the two passers-by who helped her out.
Yeah.
If you see the video, right, she was on the ledge. There was one person who was just holding her from behind.
Yeah.
In a very difficult position. And then someone else jumped over the railing, and with one hand on the railing and another trying to help her to stand up. They actually pulled her over the ledge. But I mean, at one point, none of his hands are on the railing, and I don't know who these people are. The article doesn't mention it, but it was just like, oh shit, I don't think they are the people who put her there, right? But the way it's just, you see it, you're like, oh, everything you hear about, passers-by never do anything. This one, literally, it's 5 stories, man. If any of them fell, could be fatal.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, it's I mean, I hope the girl is okay. I don't know who those two people are, but yeah, kudos to them for helping out. Yeah. But man.
So that's your one Shiok Thing.
The two passers-by helping out. Yeah. Yes, Terence.
Last time you also enjoyed watching the firefighters going from a higher floor, kicking the person all.
It's not. It's the sting that people helping other people, Terence.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
No, I'm just trying to clarify.
I clarify.
It's just that you have a thing for
people helping other people. Yeah, I like
other people.
I like seeing. You think that's my jam? Anytime someone's on the ledge, kick inside.
Yeah.
I know.
Then you open up a box of jam tarts and just happily watching.
Depending on the crowd I'm with, depending on the jam tarts or pineapple tarts.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Hope she's okay. Hope those two people are okay too. But yeah, that's all we got for today, man. So as always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with at least one other person who may not have heard of us.
Yeah.
Follow us on social media.
Yeah.
Leave a comment on Reddit. Leave a rating for us.
Leave a comment on YouTube telling us when you started listening as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what else?
If you want to work with us, reach out to us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just go to ministryoffunny.com and find us.
All right, man. Thanks everyone, and talk to you all soon.